Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a very poor title, considering that you're not actually in a golden feast hall with Odin drinking mead and banging whores. No, this should actually be called Assassin's Creed Medieval Impoverished England, which is a lot less sexy because everybody lives in dirt huts and has diarrhea.
Go to England! Glory and destiny!
To England!
To England! For Valhalla!
The last Assassin's Creed I played was Syndicate. I did not finish this game. I wanted to do kind of a first impressions video. I made it 12 hours in. I thought I'd stop by the franchise and see what they've been up to these last 5 years. Turns out, nothing good. See, Ubisoft has this unique talent to take any time period and make it boring as hell. Turns out no matter where you go, you still end up with the same boring Assassin's Creed game. The same uninteresting characters that all speak in this half-shout, far-off, monotone voice, regardless of the situation.
As we see in these Saxons, they must think the same of us.
The hammer! Now there is a symbol worthy of a god. A bolt of lightning would take that cross clean off.
This time they just added in a bunch of weird, gross Viking talk.
Inspire a mighty fart from Thor to speed us on our way.
Every time I see him, I want him to climb me like a tree and nest in my armpits.
You play as Eivor, and you can be a male or a female Eivor, and you can switch back and forth between them at any point in the game, kind of like in real life now. Is there something you want to tell us, Ubisoft? Well, I guess they did tell us right at the start of the game. They're like, well, a team developed by multicultural beliefs and religious and sexual orientations and gender identities. It's just like, you fucking losers. Ubisoft is a left-wing social justice warrior company, and it shows at virtually every turn. It's like, dude, what's with all of the women? Like, I know everybody likes to think that modern America is the most systemically racist, most oppressively intolerant place that's ever existed in history, but it turns out the farther back you go in time, the worse they treated women. They are definitely not every third soldier that you fight. That is ahistorical, ridiculous nonsense. Women do not belong on the medieval battlefield. They belong in the kitchen. The game has a neat premise, you know, it's a bunch of Vikings, sailing for a new land. They're gonna be settlers, they're gonna make their own way, and you kind of just arrive on foreign shores, and you just start expanding and building a settlement. And there's various different buildings to build. It's kind of like you're in a zoomed-in version of Warcraft, it's like, oh, here's a blacksmith, and here's a barracks, and here's a stables. The more resources you acquire, the more buildings you can set up, the more you kind of, like, establish a footprint, and the more shops you can use. The map is connected by a bunch of rivers. These are basically the roads. So you have your Viking long galley ship, and then you go, and the sails can go up and down, and they even can move the mast out of the way if they're going under a bridge. And you're going on these raids, and you're singing Viking songs. And the visual of going on a raid, you blow the horn, and all the Vikings hop out of the boat with their little shields, and they run up the hill and start attacking the Catholic monastery. That's fun. It's a neat gimmick, and it might actually be fun if the combat wasn't atrocious. So you're storming this village, and you're throwing torches on anything flammable and setting it on fire. Antifa Simulator 2020. And I do think it's funny that the game gets mad at you if you actually kill anybody that's not holding a sword. Like, oh no, the Vikings are good people, they only burn and murder people who can fight back. And I know these priests and townspeople, they didn't do anything wrong, but the bodyguards they hired, to hell with them. We're gonna raid and pillage and rape, except not rape because this is a mainstream game, and that wouldn't be that's frowned upon these days, I hear. And the problem is how level locked everything is. There's sections of the map where it's like once you cross a river, it goes up to level 120. I stopped playing when I was about level 37, I think, in terms of power level. And the skill tree is terrible too. It's like 90% straight flat stat buffs. It's like damage +1, health +1, vitality +7. And you have to go through all of these to, like, move away the star cloud and see what the new ability is gonna be. So you literally have to expend points to unlock the new section before you even see what the ability is of that section. So that's terrible. And the first two areas, it's like, oh, recommended power level 20, recommended power level 30, 40, 50. And I've already done all of the raids within my power level. I am now unable to continue the game. I'm unable to go on more raids. I tried one that was a higher level, and I died, like, immediately. Can we not expect better than this in 2020? 2020 to have stuff arbitrarily level gated, where on the left side of the river, you kill a guy in 2 hits, and on the right side of the river, the same guy will kill you in 2 hits. It's frustrating, it's immersion breaking, and it's clearly been done just to pad the runtime of the game. The game does allow you 3 variants of difficulty, which is nice. You can adjust the combat difficulty, the exploration difficulty, and the stealth difficulty. So I had the combat difficulty on hard, and the stealth difficulty I turned all the way down. I want to be able to literally walk under people's noses and have them not see me, because stealth is boring. And there is a lot less stealth in this game. I can't think of any mission or portion I played that actually demanded I use stealth. You can basically go through every part that I played, at least, you know, axes blazing. But this combat is absolutely terrible. It is laggy, it is sluggish, it is imprecise, floaty, and cartoonish. And it's one of those games where every time you swing your weapon, you take 18 steps forward. The hit detection and the collision distances are wildly unpredictable. Parry timing is really off. When the guys with the spears, like, their spear will glow orange and they'll swing it at you, and I'm like, am I supposed to parry when it starts glowing orange, when he first swings it, or when it hits me? Because regardless, you tend to get hit. And these guys with spears somehow block better than shields. Like, the shields you can literally smash in 3 hits, but these spear guys will stand there all day long, and you basically end up spamming the heavy attack until their guard breaks, and then you just spam R1, 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 R1. And the controller vibrates like 6 times on every single heavy attack you make, and it is unbearably annoying. The DualShock 4 is capable of distinguishing between light and heavy vibration. You can have a very light vibration when I hit somebody if you want, and the heavy vibration should only happen when I get hit, as a warning, as a kinetic tell that something was wrong. There's a few different weapon varieties. I played with the axe and a shield, dual-wield axes, and then a two-handed greatsword for a little bit. And they all have different move sets and swing speeds, and L1 is the special. So for the shield, obviously, that's just block. All of the weapons allow you to parry, but holding down L1 does various things. So with the greatsword, you'll start charging forward, and with the dual-wielding axes, you just kind of flurry attack until your stamina bar is gone. This game's really ugly, by the way, like disgustingly ugly. The character models look terrible. There's muddy textures and bad animations. There's no subtlety to anything. Everybody's either grinning or frowning, and they wave their arms in giant sweeping motions. And the lighting is horrible. I was playing with it for a little bit because I got a new 4K TV, and spoiler alert, until you get something that actually plays 4K, 1080p actually looks worse on 4K. Because 4 pixels are now trying to do the job of 1. But, like, there's swamps everywhere, and the water is, I shit you not, glowing green. Like nuclear, radioactive, cartoon Simpsons green water. Fog is constantly rolling in and turning the whole screen black. The night messes up the contrast wildly, so the entire game is black and white, except for your red Viking hair and the color on your shield. So as of last week, when the next-gen consoles launched, all 12 of them, everybody, at the snap of a finger, no longer cares what games look like on last gen. So now we're going to be in this intermediary period where games actually start to look worse because they put less effort into the last gen than if they had just made it for PS4. And say, the game looks beautiful on PS5. And like, well, maybe it does, but it looks like shit on PS4. Like, oh, the hyper fast SSD. Well, we're still stuck here with our hyper slow HDD, and this game's loading screens are so long. I played the game for about 12.5 hours, and probably a full hour of that was just loading screens. There's literally loading screens into other loading screens. Every time you go up to a shopkeeper to initiate dialogue, every time there's a cutscene, loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. There's no bother, no effort to optimize it at all. The game is buggy as all hell. I've gotten stuck, I've had to restart, and for some reason Ubisoft thinks it's acceptable to have a cursor in a console game menu. This is not PC. There is nothing more transparent about your laziness than when you don't even bother to have an alternate menu for the PC version. You just say, oh, we'll make it once and we'll just port it to all 3 platforms. That is unbelievably lazy. I'm on a console game and I can't flick up and down the menu quickly with the D-pad and go to hell. HE with 1 L, because it's the Norse mythology themed episode. So this game is garbage, this game is bad, this game is shit, this game is terrible. I'm not playing any more of this trash ass game. I guess the little dice mini game is kind of fun. It's like pirate dice. You roll the dice and there's like little axes and spears and shields, and you match them up to your opponent, and then you have little powers and you can steal from each other. It's a fun, neat little mini game. So that justifies about $1 of the $60 purchase. Otherwise, Ubisoft can Suck on Odin's ball sack! So, if you wanted to check into this franchise and see if it's at all evolved past the boring, bland, generic, open-world Ubisoft recycled trash that it has been for years, the answer is nay!
Good Drenga. You have an axe in your head. It is grim. I will take it out, but you will surely head off to the next realm soon.
Valhalla it is. I appreciate your candid response.